Hi, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to the second of our November updates on the Geopath Insight Suite. Hi, I'm Scott Fiaschetti, and I'm here as always, except for yesterday, joined by Brian Schopper of Geopath as well.
Good morning.
So just before we get started, I just want to apologize to everybody if you had any issues logging or trying to initially sign up for the Thursday session. I know there was a kind of problem with the link, so apologies. Hopefully you got in either today or yesterday and or both. Anyhow, I just want to again say thanks to everybody for joining. For those of you who are new today to these sessions, what I'm going to do is just give a quick overview of what we're going to cover, and then we'll get into demonstrating the tool. For those of you that have been joining these right along, these next few, first of all, I just want to say thank you for doing that and for joining. These next few slides may look a little bit familiar. But just a quick overview, like I said, what we'll do first is just talk to you high level about the Insight Suite and the updates, and then give you a demonstration, actual live demonstration of the updates to the tool and how to use them and how to use them to hopefully conduct business. And then I always want to make sure everybody knows where you can find support and provide feedback to us, because it is truly helpful. Cool. Brian just reminded me, because I always forget, as we're going through this, please feel free to ask us any questions as we go along. You can do that using the questions widget in the GoToWebinar interface. We'll try to stop periodically to just go through any questions that we may be getting right along, so that they're kind of more in the moment of when they're asked. But again, please always feel free to do that, because we do want to make sure these are useful for all of you who are joining and listening in today. A couple things before we do jump into it. The impression data, I always want to make sure I say this up front. The impression data in the Insight Suite currently is for non-commercial use, so it's for research purposes, because we're still developing and tweaking things within the background in terms of the database, in terms of the data being ported into the tool. So things are slightly tweaking right along. That said, there are still ways to be able to use this tool to kind of get value out of it now, today, when you're responding to RFPs or things like that. It can help guide you and inform some decision making, just that the impression data that you would use ultimately should come from where you currently get it, like whether it's ADS or Telmore or an internal tool, that you would still be using those resources. One of the reasons, and not the only reason, why we are doing these monthly sessions is that we are in an agile release schedule, and what that means is every couple of weeks, new features and functionality come out. You'll often see we'll put out a new feature as a beta version, and then we'll keep improving upon it. Good example is the Places module in the tool currently. You'll see that that's kind of still in beta, and we're going to constantly improve and iterate on that. And again, always please continue to explore the tool, work with it. Let us know if you're running into issues, if you have ideas of how we can improve it, because that really does help us. And we really take that to heart and really do make changes. Again, if you're new to the tool and you haven't logged in yet, or only a few times, or maybe it was a long time ago, just a couple things you'll just want to let you know at a high level. So obviously the tool represents all of our national audited inventory. Right now it's for just roadside, with fleet and transit coming in the next couple of months. And then we also are running a place-based pilot, which will eventually be in the tool event soon. All this is being powered by a unified audited database, which is a key thing in the efficiency and how well it can run, as well as eventually how we'll be able to get new inventory into the system. That's going to help us really make the process a lot more efficient and a lot quicker than it is today. You'll see it's very interactive, especially a very visually driven interactive map that you can zoom in and out of to any level. Another key aspect is the ability to explore audience first. I often talk about it, if you've been on these calls, as a kind of choose your own adventure type of thing. So if audience is what's key to you, you can start by looking at audience. If it's location, or if it's an out-of-home provider that you need to start looking at, you can go down any path or start along any path. But we did hear loud and clear as we were developing that audience first was an important aspect. and it is represented in the tool. And then, as I already mentioned this, but every location that we currently audit will be in the system, if not already is in the beta version. As we are bringing on new members, which we have a lot of growth this year, maybe not everybody is fully represented just yet in the Insight Suite, but you are represented in our current legacy tools in ADS. So, but that will be in the coming weeks as we tap into the unified database. That will be a non-issue. So just want to talk about the new features in this release quickly, and then I'll jump into showing them. So one of the key things that you'll see a key change is in the summary weekly inventory summary list that's on the right rail, you'll see two new aspects, two new metrics that we're showing. So target TRPs, so the summary of the TRPs showing that's cumulative of all the inventory that will be shown on the left side, as well as the composition index of the set of inventory that you're working with and exploring. Just a couple kind of notes there on the bottom of what a TRP is and what a composition index is as well. The TRP kind of is a sense of the media weight in an area, and then the composition index gives you a general sense of how well that target you're trying to reach is represented within the inventory that you have. And I'll show you a couple different places where you can find these definitions or find out more information on these as well when we get into the tool. Another big change is the user interface. You'll notice that this was a big change from the last iteration of the tool when we did this in October. It's now more of all these kind of accordion drop downs, or everything's vertically nested across and they're consolidated into three broad categories, three broad tabs. So you define your target, you filter your inventory, and then there's a next a layers level, which will become more and more critical as we evolve the tool. So here you can see the filter inventory tab. Everything, like I said, is vertical nested. There's a count of all the filters that you're applying, so you can see that. And also a clear all button, which is also very helpful as you're starting to kind of explore inventory and then may need to go back and reset. It makes it a lot easier to have a clear all because there's a handful of, let's see, 5 or 6 different inventory filters that you may be working with at any given time. Then, like I said, there's a third one, layers and display options. Again, this will become more and more, this is another example of something we've put out there as a beta form and we'll continue to add to. So the infrastructure is there now. Currently, you can use the layers for a couple of things. For displaying place sets now, so I would get that sometimes there may be times where you need to map out inventory and then just layer in points of interest as a group or even individual. So here's an example on the right side of showing a single Starbucks being mapped across for the Charleston area that is being mapped out in terms of inventory. But so we get that there's sometimes where you may just need to have the overlay of the inventory, the place points of interest over the inventory. We demonstrated last time the places module where you can overlay points of interest and then do a radius around them. So and just look at inventory in there. So that still exists, but this allows you to just overlay inventory across a market and not just for a radius around a point of interest. So it's a slight difference there. And then the other aspect to the layers option is that there is a satellite option for maps. And again, we will continually add additional base map types, but this is a satellite view of the base map. Another big change that happened is that when you flip over the inventory details sheet, now you can look and map where the audience is coming from at a DMA level, as well as a zip code level. And again, this is an initial release of this feature. And again, we will continue to iterate and improve upon this. So again, as you're working with this, please give us feedback and let us know what you're thinking about this and ways we can improve it. I know there's a couple things right off the bat that I'll mention that I think, that I put into the feedback that I want to see improved on it as well. But I think it is a nice feature, and will continue to be improved. The other thing that I know a lot of you all have been waiting for is that we now have the availability of package level analytics. So you'll see when we're in the workspace, here you can start to use it to plan and reach your goals. So as you are selecting inventory, you'll see it growing and counting the overall impressions, the overall TRPs, the reach and frequency. So again, you can use that to reach the level of goals for whichever it is. You know, if reach is important, or the thing you're targeting versus TRP, whatever. You can start to use it for that, and then save that scenario as a unique scenario that's reaching your goals. And you can see below eventually as the monthly data eventually gets uploaded in the new year. I believe that's scheduled for February. You will be able to start to see kind of the actual audience delivery as well, and use that to see how you've achieved your goals or not. And then this is also in the workspace, another way that you're able to see summary level analytics. So this is kind of in the area where you're starting to create your package within the workspace, and then gives you summary analytics across the different columns of data that you have. So this one is showing total impressions, total weekly impressions, target audience index, and reach. So again, you can customize those columns and have a running count of what you're working with within that workspace. And then, in the Explore module, this feature has always been there in the sense of being able to see it in a table view, but now you can customize columns and have more ability to customize more columns. And I'll show you how to do that. So you can add or remove columns that you want to see in this view, and then export that into a CSV file. I know I went through that a little quickly, but I want to make sure we have enough time because there's a lot of changes. So I want to make sure we have enough time to jump into the tool and have a demonstration. We ran this session yesterday, and we got pretty close. In fact, even went a little bit more than an hour, so I'm trying to keep us on time, on track. Brian, just want to check, see if there's any questions?
Nope, nothing yet.
Cool, awesome. So let's jump into the tool. So I'm logged in right now, and I've clicked the Home button. So for those of you who are new, I just want to give you a bit of a lay of the land. So there's 4 key modules here. There's the workspace, which is where you would go to start planning projects, etc., campaigns. There's the Explore module, which is often where you probably will spend most of your time, where you're able to pick your audience, choose your market, filter your inventory, and all of those great things. And then there's the Places module, which is, again, points of interest, where you can load in and create groupings of points of interest, and then eventually go into Explore and add in different radius around each of them. And then Reports module, again, that is coming soon. That's still under construction right now. So let me jump into the Explore module, give a quick lay of the land, and then we'll come up with a scenario and kind of move forward and work out hopefully a semi-real world scenario, a use case, so to speak. So as it's loading in, you're seeing the map of the U.S. here, and so this represents all the blue dots are all the audited roadside inventory that we have. That's 472,000. You see here on the right side, 52 billion total impressions, 52 billion target impressions, 100%. That's because we haven't picked a target yet. It's person 0+, which is our base level audience that we use. TRPs over here on the left, comp index on the right. Just a note here, this is one area that you'll probably see in the next release or two, where the layout will look different. I personally think it's just the way the layout is right now, maybe isn't tracking that well, at least for me. But we'll kind of reorder those a little bit more logically, I guess is the term that I like to say. So then across the top here on the top level nav, you see define target, filter inventory, and layers and display options, as we said. So as I said earlier, everything's a kind of accordion style now. So you select your audience, assign your market. Here you filter your inventory. You can see everything is more consolidated now. I know previously a lot of the location aspects of the tool were spread out across a couple different tabs, so they're all consolidated, and also the selecting specific units and scenarios were also spread out. So now everything dealing with how you would want to work with and filter inventory is under one tab, and then as I mentioned, the layers and display options. and here's the base map area. So let's do a couple quick things. So I always like to do this for, again, just I find this as a nice view. Just something to know quickly. So if you're ever wondering where a particular media owner has inventory, you can see it mapped across the U.S. Just quickly, just go to operators and click that. Here's a little map of the Adams inventory. I'm sticking them because they're in the A up top here and have stuff all around. You can easily, I could have easily have done 365 and just seen where their inventory is. Supply, and you can see it's in just generally the greater Chicagoland area. Cool. So just want to let you know that really quickly. And so let's get into it. I don't want to kind of go any further, and we'll start to work through a scenario and then go through some of the new improvements to the tool. So I'm in the defined target area and I want to select audience. So here are some of my previously saved audiences, but right now there's about 600 plus audiences in here, and to be honest, that hasn't changed since the last time we've done one of these, but that will change very soon because I believe over the weekend or even later today, there will be a release that will have some new audiences in it, and these will be media-focused audience, so media consumption, do you listen to radio, TV, what types of radio, etc. So there's a host of media-related attributes that will be loaded into the tool pretty soon. So again, I've talked about these before, but there's various behaviors, so commute modes, languages spoken in the home, household profile, so presence of children, how home value, mortgage levels, marital status, etc. So again, I encourage everybody to go explore these. Again, your basic demographics. There's a list in the help area as well, where you can figure out what are the specific audiences. But again, just by clicking on any given one, you'll see the list of them in there. And then, as always, we still have our Prism Premier segment. So again, for those of you who are new to the tool, our partner with the demographics is Claritas, and Prism is a proprietary segmentation product that they have, and a lot of agencies and some advertisers use this, and it is available in the tool. So all 68 segments are represented here, and again, I'll show you where you can find out more information on any particular segment. But the consumer profiles, again, it's often an area that I like exploring because it is really an interesting way. It's more behavioral, helps you understand and tell stories about the people you're trying to reach. So the three categories in here now are voting. So have you voted in a recent election, Republican, Democrat, Independent, etc. Restaurants, again, which if you joined any of these, you know I've kind of focus on this area, but there's a ton of quick service, family sit down, a lot of different type of high level of QSR users, low level, etc. that you can use to target. As I promised last time, an auto-related category. I wanted to focus on this a little bit because I know I haven't done so much of it. So again, there's about 200 plus, I believe I think 280 plus different auto-related categories. So let me go through and show you some of them. So if you want to understand reasons why people might have used a dealer for their last call or their last purchase, you can do that here and just see there's reasons why use dealer to buy most recent vehicle, financing, location, did business with them previously. Also, if you're looking to target auto intenders, and let's say, we're in 2018, almost 2019, average ownership is about 7 years. So let's say I want to target people who have purchased a car in 2011. So model year of last vehicle. So you can start to look at that and target and understand what inventory is reaching, that audience, those that have owned a car since their most recent vehicle since 2011. Also repairs. There's some nice stuff here, like if you're trying to target people that actually go and have spent money on 6 or more repairs over the last 12 months. I mean, every other month they're taking their car in for service. Or one that I'm going to focus on today is auto parts. I actually, over the holiday weekend, I had to go into an AutoZone to buy some new wipers. So I'm going to pick AutoZone. But again, there's a whole, let me do it this way, shopped. There's a whole host of different brands in here, Pep Boys, etc. So like I said, I went to an AutoZone. I needed some new wipers. I went in, so I'm going to get those. So I'm picking AutoZone as my audience I want to focus on. So I'm applying that. So you can see here how everything's just changed. So now you have a bubble map of how the inventory is clustered across the DMAs across the country. You can see we still have the 52 billion because we haven't filtered down by market yet. But among those 52 billion impressions, 13 billion are among those that say they've been to shops for auto products at an AutoZone in the past 12 months. So that's about 26% of the overall market. So now that we have that, we can start to look at that 26%. As we dig into markets or different areas, we can see, are we over-indexing, under-indexing in terms of our target composition as we start to explore. So let's do this. Let's come up with a scenario. So let's say the scenario is Advanced Auto Parts wants to target AutoZone customers to kind of prospect them away from AutoZone and become Advanced Auto Parts. And let's pick the Atlanta DMA for now. So that's the scenario, and we'll try to work through an actual use case and see how that goes. So got my audience, so I want to target AutoZone customers for Advanced Auto Parts, and I'm going to go to Atlanta. So I'm doing that, and you'll see it show up that here's our Atlanta. So there's about 13,000 plus units in Atlanta, roadside units that we do audit. You can see how all this changed on the right side. We have a lot of TRPs right now because we're looking at everything. So 37,000, which makes sense. I guess we have a low composition index because we are looking at everything. And it's not low. I mean, it's just still pretty high, but it's not at 100. So 28%, so over, a little bit higher than that 26 we saw nationally. So let's use this and start to explore the Atlanta area. So I want to zoom in to the Atlanta area. I just clicked on the bubble, and it's going to expose and show some of it. Okay. So Brian, as I'm doing this, are there any questions?
Yeah, we had a couple. One was about sort of when you're going through the audience metrics about subfolders or categorization. There are a couple drop downs in there right now, and that's going to be expanded as more audiences get in there. And this whole thing is going to keep improving. So I'm not totally sure about subfolders, but there will be filters at the top, like the auto restaurant up the top that you can use to filter. And then there was another question about how are these specific audiences being collected. And this is through our partners at Claritas.
Yep. And Claritas is formerly, I believe, a Nielsen company that's been spun off, but they pull in data from GfK MRI, from the census, and also credit card purchase data. So they're pulling in data from all over the place, and the GfK MRI data is survey based, so it's at the household level, which is super helpful for us as we build a tool and try to tie all this information back to home locations and model out the movement across the entire country. So here's all the inventory in Atlanta. And you could see the view, and if you're wondering, what do all those colors mean? Here's a little key. Gives you all the different bulletins are this orange, the posters are goldenrod, etc. The turquoise is street furniture, and walls and mirrors purple. So on the right side, again, you have the ability to filter the inventory however you like. So right now it's looking at target composition percent, but if I wanted to filter by total impressions or target impressions, I could do that. In-market, total impressions, total in-market, total percent of in-market. So there's a host of different ways to sort the inventory on the right side. So right now, what I'm looking at is all of the inventory, so all 13,000 pieces, and it's filtered by target composition percent. So that's what's showing up here as this first one. If I want to see where that is, I click on that, and oops, there's a little, let me close that, but as I scroll over it, you can see that there's a little star showing where that unit is, if you want to see it in context with everything else. Okay. And let me do one, let's say, okay, there's a lot of stuff here, and oftentimes, again, I try to clean up the view a little bit, so to speak, just so there isn't so much that we're seeing. So I'm going to look at posters and maybe digital posters today and apply that. So it'll clear out everything else for right now. And maybe eventually, as we're going through our scenario, we're going to need to maybe add in bulletins or street furniture as we do it. So right now, we're looking at all of the posters, and as I zoom in a little tighter, you'll see the view change one more time, and it'll represent, the iconography will change and represent the number of facings and the direction of those facings as well. Center in on the plan a little bit, and then you'll see the change happen. And you can see even here on the right, the key changed as well. So anything with a black circle around it, and why we lost that for a second. So anything with a black circle around it shows that it's a digital unit. And all of the, looking at here, this one over near Decatur, you can see that this one has two facings, and one's facing east, and one west. And let's actually click on that unit and see more information about it. So you can see that this is a out front piece. It's in this area, has a plant unit ID number, Geopath ID number, and then I want to click here for more information. So here is some more info on it. I talk about this often as like a baseball card, the back of the trading cards, all the statistics on it. So here's opportunity overviews. These are other attributes, other unit, audience targets that this unit over indexes for. So again, it seems to be for this one a lot of the prism segments it's over indexing for. And this shows where the audience is coming from. So you can see here that almost half of its audience is coming from this zip code, 30030. So again, means that 61% or 51% rather, if I can do my math right, is coming from a zip code other than that. And oftentimes you'll see as you map it out that the piece of inventory where a lot of its audience is coming from is from a zip code outside of where it is actually located, which allows us to tell that story that we've always wanted to tell in out-of-home, that the movement of audience. And then here, top market areas, showing you what other DMAs is drawing audience from. This one's pretty solidly in the Atlanta, Georgia DMA, so the vast majority, I think it's kind of rounding up here a little bit. The vast majority of audience is coming from the Atlanta DMA. And then here are all of your weekly audience metrics, so market population, impressions, composition percent, as well as on the right side here, TRPs, reach frequency for that unit, for that individual unit, and it's a weekly audience summary right now. If you ever have questions on what those definitions are or anything on this page, you just click the I button like I just did, and here's all information on how we get to some of our calculations and definitions on everything. You just hit this arrow to go back to there. And let me show you a couple things quick. So I mentioned earlier that you can click here on the individual detail sheet and have it map out the DMAs that it's drawing audience from. And if you want to even make it bigger, you can do that and start to zoom in. And obviously, you're going to see a lot of audience from the Atlanta DMA. And I know just a couple things right off the bat that I asked to see if we can make changes to, but just being able to click on these DMAs and know what they are, as well as what percent of the audience is coming from that DMA as well. And similarly, I'll click on the zip code view, as well, and you'll see a heat map of zip codes where audience is coming from. Obviously, it's a lot kind of heavier in the Atlanta area with zip codes. And again, similarly, you'll see, and I think some of the same things. It'd be great to see the zip code and to know how much audience is coming from there, and also to have the dot of where that piece of inventory is located, so you can see it in context to the zip codes there. So there's just a couple things that I think will be changing as we start to iterate and improve on this this feature here. And again, that's for an individual unit. So I'm going to go back here and do that. So let's get back to our scenario where we're trying to plan for advanced auto parts and reach those AutoZone customers in the Atlanta area. So let's see here. Let's say I want to look at just the top 25 units here that are reaching that in terms of target composition percent. I do that, and it looks like, wow, a lot of them are kind of, in this southeast part of Atlanta, kind of near the airport, which makes sense. Maybe there's a lot of traffic around there. It's one of the busiest airports in the U.S. So let's say maybe that's not really where I want to be. I want to be kind of more in the middle of Atlanta area. I think it was this I-10 that goes through the center. I forget. It's been a little bit since I've been there. So let's how can we do that? Let's go back to this filter inventory area. So we've already filtered media types. I've showed you how to filter by operators. So let's do a custom shape. So you can draw a polygon if you want. You can however shape you want, or you can just, if you want to do something quick, you can just do a radius. So I got my little crosshairs here, and I'm going to say, let's do a radius of around 5 miles. So let's see. And what will happen is, boom, 5¼ miles I picked there. Just quickly, you can see that it's going to just filter inventory, and we're just going to be seeing inventory, the posters, right? Because we've also filtered for digital and non-digital posters within that DMA, within that radius here. So it is now looking at 546 units within that area. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do it one more time because typically what we want it to do, oops, I think I moved a little too quick, sorry. Anyway, you get the picture. Sorry, I think I moved a little too quick, but I did another radius and you can see how it's filtered everything outside of it. We're just looking at that radius. So apologies for that. But let's say, you know what, that's still not really what I want. I want to just look at the Atlanta city limits and use that as my boundary for where I want to look at inventory. Let me clear. Now we're back looking at all the poster inventory in the Atlanta area. And this is not a new feature, but there's new levels of granularity here. So you also now can look at neighborhood level and even city level. So as I start to type in Atlanta, let me show you. So Atlanta CBSA, the Atlanta DMA, the Atlanta city limits, and I haven't finished typing in Atlanta, so it's looking at other things, other areas. So neighborhoods, Atlanta, Bird, San Jose, California. Another good example, let's say you want to look at Chelsea in New York City, right? So it's also searching for the city, Chelsea, Massachusetts, but also neighborhoods. So I think it's a really nice feature that allows you to kind of map out specific areas. So let's go back to the Atlanta city limits that we want to Atlanta, Georgia city. I'm going to apply that. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this. This is a great feature.
Yeah, it's going to be. All right, so now we have the inventory in here. Starting to come back into focus, hopefully. So one thing as you're going through the tool and working with it, I really would love if you do run into little hiccups and things like that, please just always go to this feedback button here and let us know if something isn't working as you think it should. So right here, you would just go feedback, and how can we help, and you can start to type in things there. So I think I'm just going to pause a second as I think it catches up with me here. So I'm looking at the Atlanta area, all the inventory in the Atlanta City area, so that's about 733 units. And until now, we've been looking at it obviously in the map view. And I want to show you that you can also look at it in the table view, like we talked about. And this is one way where you can start to create a package that you want to look at on any number of ways. I'm going to move this up a little bit so I can see a little bit more. I just hit those two lines. I'm going to clear out everything and zero out. And then I'll start to decide, let's customize columns. Let's see, I've been looking at it in terms of target impression composition. So let me add that as a column. So I just clicked on it and clicked the arrow to move it over, and there it is. Let's say I want to move it up so those two parallel lines. I just drag it to where I want to see it. So now it's going to be the first column right after media types for me, because maybe for me and this what a project I'm working on, this is what's most important. But as you start to do this, you can look you can relook at the inventory by total weekly impressions. So I just kept clicking the button. So I want to look at the ones with most impressions. So I'm going to start picking those because I think those are going to be the ones that I want to have some of those in my package here. It's lagging a little bit here right now. And then maybe I want to look at some that have said reach my over-index for reaching my audience. Let me click on a few of those. 1, 2. So I think I've selected about 6 pieces so far. Maybe I also want a little bit, some that have among the bigger reach to the audience. So my AutoZone loyalists that we're trying to reach. I add a few more pieces of inventory here. So I think I have about 10. So let's say I like this set. We can do a couple things here. I could save this as a new inventory set if I want to. Let's do that right now. So let's say this is my ATL posters AutoZone. So 10 units. So I'm going to save that. We can come back to that now anytime we want to and map that out. But one of the things I want to make sure everybody's aware of, so as I've been picking those units here, they've been showing up here on the map as well. So it should be here. And I think I probably picked a few digital units. So that's why maybe you're not seeing exactly 10 dots here. But you can also have this list here, right here, and you can start to see those are my 10 units that I selected here, and they're great. Well, I want to go back to looking at all of the inventory. So I'm going to click all. That's all the inventory in the Atlanta city limit area that we have. So we're ready to, you know what, let's actually look at places next. Sorry. I want to show you how this works before we jump into it. So I want to zoom into Atlanta and start to add my advanced auto parts store, because we're advertising for advanced auto parts even though we're trying to reach the AutoZone customers. So let's try to map those out. And there's a couple ways you can do that. There's broad categories here, but you can also just type in advanced auto parts. So here they are. I'm going to map all those out. So right now, what it does is you zoom into an area and you show it, and it'll show you 10 locations, and you could save those as a place set. You can see how bad I type. Creating this as a place set. And if you need to add more and more, we realize, there's the questions we get about, will I ever be able to upload my own set of points of interest? And the answer is yes. And what if I, in the moment right now, need to do more than just 10? Well, what you could do, there is a way to do that, and you just clear out everything here, and then just look at a different part of the map here and zoom in, and do another search for the same. And then auto parts. Great, there they are, apply, and then you'll see another set of 10 come up, and you could just add those to another place set. I've already gone ahead and I made a list of them, so I have, let me clear this out. So if you've already done that, you can map, you can just call them up here. So advanced auto parts. There was 3 stores in particular that I thought were right in the Atlanta city area that I want to focus on, and let's start to do that. So I'm going to go back to my Explore area and show you how to do the layers. So just Brian, as it's churning here a little bit, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, we have one. I'm not totally sure about the answer to it, and we'll find out. Maybe where are the neighborhood and city boundaries coming from? Is that here maps? Is that Mapbox itself?
That's a good question, one for Dylan.
Okay.
I think I know the answer, but I don't want to say anything wrong at this point.
Okay, we'll find out about that.
Yeah, I do think it's potentially here maps, but I don't want to.
Okay. Yeah, we'll find out about that.
So we can definitely find out about that. Good question, though. So we're back in Atlanta City area, and I want to show you how you can layer in different play sets. So I want to show you one thing too, how specific you can get. So let's say, I know we were looking at advanced auto parts, but let's say auto repair. I know there's a lot of local repair shops. So auto repair by Patrick. Let's see where he is. So you can map that out and show where auto by Patrick is. So he's way over here, kind of maybe a little bit northern part of Atlanta. But let's say I want my top 3 advanced auto parts there too. I'm going to map those 3 in there as well. Close that out. So there they are. Those are the advanced auto parts. And I know another question might be like, well, how do I tell these apart if I'm trying to map different things? So yes, I think that is a good piece of feedback that want to probably have some need to be able to kind of color code or some way identify iconography that's different for different things that you're mapping in here. So one way, like I said, to add in layers. And then also you can, as we've mentioned, you can look at it as a satellite view as well. Sometimes this might be helpful to look at that view so you can actually see kind of from, again, the satellite view, where these places are and where these locations are. And then at the next few minutes, with the remaining time, I want to jump into the workspace and show you how you can create a project out of this, and show you how those summary metrics work as well. So here we are. I know, apologies, it's running a little, flagging a little bit sometimes on my laptop. There we go. Hey, there it is. So there are this is the mapped out area. You'll see everything's coming in. Oops, sorry. got a little touchy with it. So everything's mapped now. You can see points of interest there, as well as the poster inventory that we have listed. I'm going to zip back to I often like working in the light view, but I just wanted to show you the satellite view as well. So I'm going to jump over, once it comes back, I'm going to jump over to the workspace, and I set up a project, and we can start to talk about that.
Yeah, before you do, we have a question that I think we can help out with. It was basically about exporting things as a PDF or things like that. You can, once this loads back up, if you click on a single piece of inventory and you click for more details and you flip to the back side of the page there is an export to PDF button. We'll get that pulled up in a second.
And then another thing, if you want to export any of the package of the units that you're looking at, you can do that as well, which I haven't done yet here. So here I click on one unit, and I can click here, and it'll generate a PDF for us here right now. And it's going to show all of the same information that we looked at. So the inventory details sheet with all the definitions and everything there as well. And so also, if you want, I think right now we're looking at all 733 units in the Atlanta city area. So I'm going to download them as a CSV and open that. And again, you can work with that and easily just copy and paste these into whatever you need. So here's all 700. And let's say I really want to look at these 10 right there. So I copy the Geopath plan ID number, and then I'm going to close that out and just go here to my filter inventory. It's one thing I didn't do yet. So specific units by ID, copy and paste those in. So there's my 8 units that I called up, and I'm just going to copy and paste them in. And again, you can copy and paste these in from a Word document, from an Excel file, from an email. The tool is smart enough to kind of ingest that and understand what's what. So you can see how these are actually pretty good ones. They're right in the area that we want to be at. So they might be ones we want to keep in our plan. Or once your plan is set, you can just copy and paste those in to that. So let me close this and jump over to Workspace. So here, these are your projects, and again, as you're working, maybe as you're using the tool, you may have 20 or 30 projects, and you could, let's say, I just want to look at my advanced auto products one. So here, there it is. I search for it. It's advanced auto products, so it's a new business. We're prospecting AutoZone customers, and you could tag it. So if you need all your Atlanta projects or all your auto projects or whatever you want, you can use that to search. I've created 2 scenarios here. And again, you can think of a scenario as, potentially a campaign or however you want to look at it. And again, for the same way you're setting up a project in Workspace, you can do that for every scenario. So this one is my advanced auto products. This one's really a TRP focused one, so it's their spring campaign. So people are getting their cars ready for the spring and summer driving season. So we want to target those AutoZone users. I didn't tag anything yet, but one of the key things here is you'll come here and you'll want to select an audience. So these are my saved audiences, but you can go to just select an audience, and it'll call up the different audiences you want to go and select. Boom. And it'll bring you to the interface that we saw before, and you could pick your audience. Let me just do one thing here. Yes, I do want to leave the page, and I want to come back into it. So then the other thing you'll need to do is pick your market. And once you pick your market, your planned, your TRPs and reach and everything will start to show up as you start to load in your inventory. But you have to pick an audience and a market first. So I have an inventory set in here. You can start to see how it's generating. There's 11 units, and it generates 7.5 million impressions. And my average target percent impression composition is 0.26%, about pretty decent. million. My index is 91, so maybe, you know what, we probably want to try to find ways to get that up a little bit. So we would start to use this to maybe add in inventory or take away inventory. And as you work in it, you can see it'll auto adjust. So I took off this cleared channel 1 and it went down. Total number of impressions went down, as is my reach. So probably going in the wrong direction here. I want to actually start to add inventory to make it increase and go up. And then you can also, to make this whole unified work area, you can add places too. So we had that list of 3 advanced auto parts store that we want. So I want to have those ready to go and see all their information here. And so let's save this scenario. And so I have everything here together. So I have my 11 units. I see what my plans are. They look good. I'm getting a lot of TRPs. My reach overall is pretty good. Everybody's seen it quite a bit as well. So maybe this is what I like, and I can kind of have this and save it and go back to it. So I think I did save my scenario already, and we have that. And I think that's everything I did want to cover in the tool itself. There's just a few last things I want to make sure everybody's aware of, and just check in with Brian to see. So if you ever have questions, I know we did mention this before, but you can go here and give us feedback or contact us. You can go here to the question mark and find out a lot more information. It brings you to the support.geopath.io area. And there's a whole host of things here. So there's lessons. So we've put together a bunch of small videos on the foundations of measurement. So what is an impression? What does universe mean? What is reach and frequency? So there's a series of one-pagers and videos here that you can use. And we're eventually going to start creating, as the tool starts to have less and less changes to it, we will start to create user, little small user snippets that you can actually use to you know, if you need to do a specific thing with the tool, you'll be able to do it. And there's also how-tos here on how to create a project, again, with and other aspects of the tool itself. So these are not videos yet, but they're kind of walkthroughs of how to do various things with the tool. Let me go back to the main area. Another thing I mentioned, I think the questions are, what are the audiences available? So here's that list I mentioned of all the audiences currently in the tool. So sometimes I know it might be easier just to scroll through this list. And again, I'm in the help button and I clicked on what audiences are available in the Insights suite. And then one other thing I want to make sure everybody's aware of, the Claritas Prism segments, because I know they might be new to some people. So here's a definition of what they are, and let me get back to and show you with the where the definitions of all of them. So I'm audience measurements, and let's see, I clicked on upper crust. So what does upper crust mean? Well, they are suburban with kids, graduate degree plus, and be homeowners with above average use of technology. And then it gives a bit of a definition of who they are. So upper crust is a haven for wealthy empty nesting couples over the age of 65. Segment has a high concentration of residents earning over $100,000 a year. So and again, some broad statistics as well. So just to give you a sense of who that person is in the within these segments. So I'm gonna walk through the tool today. I know there was a lot that changed, and hopefully you'll continually see improvements on the tool. If you ever want to go back, this session will be available in our Geek Out section of our homepage, of our website rather. You just click on Geek Out right here. This is a screenshot, and you just scroll down to Out of Home Office Hours, and you'll see the 6 most recent webinars that we've been covered to date. Again, want to pause and see if there's any questions from anybody. Any questions, Brian?
No, I'm answering one.
Okay, great. Cool. You know, we do these last Thursday and Friday of every month, and we'll continue to do this. So just for the next set, though, because of where the last Thursday and Friday falls in December, we're actually, we know a lot of people are traveling and some agencies shut down that week between Christmas and New Year. So we're going to do the next set that first week when we come back in January. So Thursday, January 3rd from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and then the Friday one's always at 11 to 12 a.m. on January 4th. And then we'll get back on a regular cadence. So in January, there actually will probably be 2 sets of sessions that we will do. Just as we're finishing up, I know there's 1 or 2 minutes left. I just want to show everybody something, make sure everybody's aware. On our website, in the Geek Out area, I want to show you some new stuff that we put up on our website. So in the Geek Out tab, there's another area where you can get training materials. So I'm just logging in to the Geek Out, and you can use your login credentials that you use for ADS or anything like that, any of our tools rather. And if you go here, there's a whole bunch of different content here. So we have a bunch of infographics. You may have seen these. We have a weekly spotlight of these in Billboard Insider. There's about 110 different DMAs, and we're continually building those. We have bunch of research reports that we've done using Simmons data on a bunch of different categories. There's about 30 or 40 decks here right now. But the one thing I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of are the training materials that we put up here. So these are all one-pagers, or there's 2 things here. There's one-pagers on a host of different things. So there's an overview on Geopath. There's how's measurement done across different media? What's an impression in TV versus radio? What does universe mean? What's an impression? How do you calculate a TRP, GRP? So these are all one-pagers. And then as you scroll down, there are decks that go along with each of them. So, and then very soon there's going to be the training videos. All of this is also available in the Insight Suite as well, but they're all here consolidated in our Geek Out area as well. Just wanted to let everybody know that little public service announcement there. So first of all, thank you again for everybody for joining. Want to say if you ever have any other questions, if we didn't get to answer one of your questions, or a new one comes up for you as you kind of leave the webinar, feel free to reach out to us at geekout@geopath.org anytime. And just one last check-in with Brian. We're good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Again, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time today, and have a good rest of your day and a nice weekend.